Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Just want to confirm that you can hear me. I guess until you tell me that you can't, I'll assume that you can. So welcome to, I guess it's a lunch and learn if you haven't eaten lunch yet, or we'll eat lunch sometime. And we're going to discuss do-it-yourself high holidays. This year, high holidays are really, really awkward and challenging for many, for everybody really, because no matter what your plans are, maybe your synagogue is open, maybe it's closed. Even if it's open, is there room for you? They have limited seating this year, I'm sure. Or even if there is, maybe you're not comfortable or you're not well enough or feeling safe enough to attend. So for that matter, many people this year who would normally spend the holidays in the shul, in the synagogue, with the community, with friends, will be doing it at home this year. Now, that's very awkward and very different for many, many people. Now, the truth is that by now, we should be used to the awkwardness of the situation. What we're dealing with, it's really hasn't been easy for anybody. However, the holidays is always a time where the community comes together. Maybe you don't attend synagogue a whole year round. Maybe you're not so much on the radar of the community wherever you are a whole year round. But a high holidays is a time where we have such a large percentage of Jewish people coming to the community, coming to the shul, connecting, praying, enjoying the songs, listening to the words of Torah, the stories, the jokes. Hopefully there's a few funny ones to keep you awake. There's so much action and drama that we want to be a part of on these holidays that lifts our spirits and really gets us ready for a new year. And this year, for many, that won't be a possibility. But we don't want to, heaven forbid, say that this is going to be to the detriment of your new year. Heaven forbid. Your new year is going to be blessed by God. Your fate will be inscribed and sealed for health and for happiness, prosperity, success, nachas, everything that you need. But you're going to have to figure out this year how to experience that in a different way. So in our limited time today, I want to go through some things, some tips, some ideas, some teachings that will help you experience the high holidays at home or on your own, wherever you are. By the way, feel free to put on the chat any kind of questions. And once in a while, I'll go through the chat and I'll be able to answer those. We also have this running on Facebook, but I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get to those questions. You can try. I'll try to check it periodically. All right. So I want to give a few introductory notes so we know that what we're getting into. The high holidays fall out in the 7th month of the Jewish year, which is already strange. Is it the 7th month or is it the 1st month? On the one hand, it's the 1st month. It's the high holidays, the beginning of a new year. But at the same time, we often say that Nisan is the 1st month when the Jews were born out of Egypt, and we celebrate Pesach, which means the month of Tishrei is the 7th month. So that's already a whole discussion about is it the 1st or the 7th month? And in a simple word, the answer would be that for the natural order of the world, the beginning of the year is Tishrei, is the high holidays. For the creation of the Jewish people and for somewhat the emergence of the supernatural order of the world, which definitely is a part of God's plan, the 1st month would be Nisan. So we have both those calculations. Now, in the Torah, it's called Chodesh HaShvi'i, the 7th month. The word Shvi'i, which means the 7th, but we can also read it a bit differently. Often a shin can be interchanged with a sin. So instead of just Sheva, Sheva means 7, it could also be Seva or Sova, which means satiated and filled and nourished. And the rabbis tell us that this month of the year is satiated and filled with many very important festivals. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Simchat Torah. There's so much in this month. This month almost is just completely jammed with so many festivals, to the extent that the rabbis once asked, why did God fill all this one month with so many festivals? He could have spread it out a little more over the year. And it makes this month so hectic, especially with the planning, if you're running communities, etc. However, we're fortunate to have such a month. And it's not just filled with festivals, but to think about how it fills our spirits. It fills our tank. It gives us fuel to be able to embark on the new year in ways that we're inspired, we're motivated to whatever it is in your life you need motivation for. Well, this is the month to get that motivation. So we're going to be dealing mainly with Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Rosh Hashanah is, as the Torah says, not the first day of creation. The first day of creation was 5 days before then, the 25th of Elul. Rosh Hashanah is the sixth day of creation, but it is the first day. It's the anniversary of the creation of perhaps the most important of all creatures in this world, and that is mankind. Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve, were created on the Friday of creation, which is Rosh Hashanah. So we're celebrating that. We say, Zeh hayom tchilat maasecha. This is the beginning of all your works, oh God. Now, it's not the beginning, it's the sixth day, but once mankind comes into this world and is able to partner with God to be able to do what needs to get done and bring this world to its fulfillment, that's something to celebrate. So we're really, it's a birthday of humanity, and that's something we're celebrating on Rosh Hashanah. Another important historical anniversary of Rosh Hashanah is that we know some of our matriarchs and great women in Jewish history were challenged in fertility. They had a hard time having children. So Rivka was one of those, the wife of Yitzchak, and Sarah, already beforehand, the wife of Abraham, until she was 90 years old, she wasn't blessed with children. Then there's the famous Hannah. We read about her in one of the Haftorahs in the story of the prophets. They were all challenged having children, and they turned to God, praying their hearts out to be able to be blessed with the gift of childbirth. And we're told, we have a tradition that all those three women their prayers were answered on Rosh Hashanah. Hannah, we know, was praying on Rosh Hashanah, and it looked like she was drunk, if you remember the whole story, and the high priest thought she was drunk, but she wasn't really drunk, she was just really shfoch nefesh, she was pouring out her soul. That's another important theme of Rosh Hashanah. Your prayers can truly be answered uniquely on that day. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, is also a day of judgment. So our rabbis have taught us how God has the scales of everybody in front of them, the good deeds and the bad deeds, and we're reflecting on the last year. Hopefully those scales are heavily imbalanced, and we're also pledging and telling God, well, next year, they're going to be even more imbalanced, and therefore, please judge us favorably to bless us with a Shana Tova Umetuka. Two other historical dates I'll mention to you now. One is that we have a tradition that even though we know the Jews were let out of Egypt on Pesach, which is the 15th of Nisan, but remember, for a few months before then was the episode with Moses coming to Pharaoh and bringing the plagues, and that went on for many months. Apparently, the severity of the slavery in Egypt ended on Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah already began the seeds of redemption of the Jewish people from their centuries of torture in Egypt, and to be released, liberated, and to become an independent nation. Again, on Rosh Hashanah, such an important theme. And finally, Yosef, the son of Jacob, one of the 12 brothers, the 12 tribes, who was sold out by his brothers and landed up in Egypt and ended up in prison there. And eventually, because Pharaoh had his dreams and needed someone to interpret his dreams, if you recall the story in the Torah, so he brings out Yosef out of prison. Yosef interprets the dreams and is so favorable to Pharaoh that he becomes second to the king. The great Yosef becomes almost the great leader of the whole world. Well, apparently his release from prison was on Rosh Hashanah. Again, a theme of liberation and a theme of redemption, all occurring on this day of Rosh Hashanah. So, you're going to be celebrating Rosh Hashanah in your home. And we're thinking about the prayers. We have so many prayers that we recite, the minhagim, the customs, the traditions, the foods that we eat. There's so much going on, and we'll go through as much as we can. I am going to be using these two machzorim, these two prayer books. One is for Rosh Hashanah, one is for Yom Kippur. They're printed by Kahat. This is the one we have in our shul, but there are many others. Some use the Art Scroll. The main differences are that there will be some differences in the liturgy. Some have a little more, some have a little less, some have a bit of a change of words. Nothing dramatic. Every Siddur is a good Siddur as long as you're praying from your heart. That's the most important thing. One word on why is the prayer book, normally throughout the year, it's called the Siddur. Siddur means something is a seder, something is organized. So think about, before there were prayer books, and even before there was liturgy composed by our great rabbis, you just prayed from your heart. You prayed as you wanted to, as whatever prayer came to you. And then eventually the rabbis in the times of the Talmud made, or even earlier, made liturgy that we should be reciting. And then throughout the ages, there were other sections of liturgy that were composed as well. When they were eventually put into an organized way in a prayer book, it was called the Siddur, the organized layout of the liturgy of prayers that we should be reciting. But the prayer book for the high holidays is called the Machzor. Why? Machzor means like a cycle. And originally, all the festival prayers, special prayers for Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, special prayers for Sukkot, for Pesach, for Shavuot, because there are special prayers for each of them, they were all compiled into one book. So you had a book called the Machzor, which is the cycle of the year, the seasonal prayers of all the festivals in one book. Nowadays, they probably have those, but it became more common that the prayers of the high holidays was selected and put into their own book, and yet the name Machzor still remained. So that is the Machzor book. Now, let's get into the order of the day. So Erev Rosh Hashanah, the day before, is going to be next Friday. So next Friday, you have to be getting ready for the festival, making sure you have nice clothing to wear, making sure your house is ready, making sure you have delicious foods to enjoy your festival meals. And one of the very important customs for Erev Rosh Hashanah is called Hatarat Nedarim. Hatarat Nedarim means the annulment of vows, which means you're not supposed to ever make a vow or a promise. You're supposed to try to make commitments and try to actually adhere to your commitments. We try our best, and maybe that's something that we should be doing some teshuvah on, and telling God that, or telling our friends, we want to be more reliable in the coming year and be more true to our word. But if, heaven forbid, we made a vow, an oath, and we didn't keep it, so that's a big violation. So we have the ceremony of the annulment of vows in the Machzor that I have. In case you have the same one, it's on page 2 and 3. The way it's done is you sit in front of 3 other people who serve as the judges. Some have a custom to sit in front of 10 people, but a minimum of 3. 3 makes an ad hoc bet din. And you recite the liturgy here. I mean, you can say it in your own words, but here's the text, page 2 and 3, how you want to annul your vows. And the 3 judges have their own text to recite, and they say, you know, everything is annulled for you, everything is absolved for you, everything is permitted for you, and they absolve you from those vows. That's something we do before we start the new year. If you're not able to be in the synagogue, this can be done online via Zoom, for example. The most important thing is that the 3 judges are present with each other, so they're serving the bet din, the court. But if they're together with each other, then you, via a telephone or via a Zoom video conference call, whatever it is, you're able to do this ceremony as well. Okay, now we're getting ready to enter Rosh Hashanah. Now, there's a custom, some have the custom to go to the mikveh before Rosh Hashanah if you're able to. This year, I don't know if mikvehs are open or if it's so safe, but if you have a swimming pool, at least for the men, or a lake or the ocean, you can certainly do that. And that's a way of extra purity before Rosh Hashanah. And it's good to get out there and get a bit of immersed in some fresh waters. It'll spiritually and physically and probably emotionally refresh you. Rosh Hashanah begins, well, with the Mincha prayer. Now, I'm going to make a note about the prayers. Most of the prayers we can recite on our own. I'm just looking at a comment here. The 3 men, the bet din is 3 men. Don't ask me why. That's just the way it is. There's a bit of a myth about prayers, as if you have to be in the synagogue to pray. The answer is no. And I'll tell you a little secret. For many, many years before the synagogue was invented, people were praying on their own without a synagogue. The mitzvah of prayer is in the Torah. And in the Torah, there's no concept of having the minyan, the 10 people present. That came later. So the mitzvah of prayer is every individual, when you're in a time of need, you're in your home, you're in your office, wherever you are, it's a mitzvah to pray to Hashem. And how should you pray? Well, first and foremost, from your heart. Pray it like you mean it. And then use the correct language and the correct words as you're supposed to. It's obviously very nice and comfortable to be able to be in a large setting, have many people, and have a beautiful cantor singing so many beautiful songs. And that really enhances the experience. The problem, the challenge is that it's when you're in that moment or in that experience, it's easy to sort of slip into a mode where you just become a kind of spectator. You sit back and you enjoy what everyone else is doing. You almost like letting them do the work for you. I'm just going to sit, listen, close my eyes and whatever. But that's not really the goal of prayer. The goal of prayer is that you should be making your own prayers. You know, a lot of times people will call me, Rabbi, this person is sick. Can you make a Mishnah Berurah prayer for that person? And the answer is, of course, yes, we do that. But I always say, imagine if you would come to shul, or you would pray for that person, and you know that person. I don't. You're the loved one. You're connected with them. Your prayers would be even more powerful than mine. And they always don't believe me. My prayers are more powerful than yours. And I say, absolutely, because you know that person. I think it's important to mention a very famous parable offered by the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov said, once in the forest, there was the lion. The lion is the king of the forest. And he sets the tone, right? If the lion's in a good mood, everyone can be in a good mood. If the lion is not doing well, everybody suffers. You know, when you have someone in the room and if they're not doing well, everybody suffers. Don't be one of those people, unless you're a lion. So one day the lion fell very depressed. The lion was down in a bad mood, in a grumpy mood. And because of that, everybody knew about it and everybody felt it. And the whole ecosystem was suffering because the lion is depressed. And until we get him back onto his feet, we're all going to suffer. So the fox, who's always very clever, the fox said, you know what? I have an idea. You know me. I'm a funny guy. I could tell jokes. I'm able to, in fact, I have my repertoire. I have 300 jokes. So what we'll do is all the animals, he gathers a big meeting, all the animals of the forest gather around and the fox tells them, you're all going to come with me and we're going to go on a dangerous mission. We're going to go to the den of the lion. Now that's dangerous. We don't like to hang out there, but I'm going to stand up and I'm going to start to tell my jokes. 1, 2, my 300 jokes. There's no question about it. The lion's mood will be picked up and then he'll, be graceful to us all and we can get back to normal life. Everyone agrees. Great idea. We're going with you. And so the entourage begins, the fox leads, and everyone is following. About halfway there, the fox stops for a moment. Everybody says, Mr. Fox, are you okay? He says, the truth is, I'm just thinking, I've just forgotten about 100 of my jokes. I only have 200 left. And everybody's heart sinks. And the fox says, it's okay. 200 is enough to get the lion back on his feet. It's fine. Let's keep going. Another while later, the fox stops again. Mr. Fox, are you okay? I just forgot another 100 of my jokes. I only have 100 left. That's okay, they say. Don't worry, 100 jokes is plenty. A little while later, they're getting closer to the den, and the fox stops again, and he says, I just forgot another 50, but I have 50 left. Let's go on. Moments before they get into the den, the fox stops. And everybody says, Mr. Fox, they're very nervous now. They're standing, they can hear the lion rumbling. Now is the moment. Mr. Fox, stand up. And the fox says, I'm with you. I just forgot all my jokes. My mind blinked out. Maybe I'm nervous. Maybe I'm intimidated. And everybody starts to panic. Here we are by the lion's den. We're supposed to be improving his mood. He's in a bad mood. It could be dangerous for us all. And the fox forgot his jokes. So the fox turns to them and he says, listen here, my friends, I'll tell you the real truth. The real truth is I never knew any jokes to begin with. I knew that in order to lighten up the lion's mood, everybody here had to play a role. You had to come and you had to wish the lion your blessings and give him your wishes and tell him how much you love him and you believe in him and you respect him as the leader of the jungle. Everyone had to do that, not just me. But I knew that there was no way, if I told you, everyone go to the lion's den, and no one's going to do that. You're all going to be petrified. So I had to find a way to get you here. And I found a way. And now you're here. My friends, now is your moment. Everybody take an opportunity, step up and communicate with the lion. The Baal Shem Tov said that is the parable for the role of a chazan, of a cantor in a synagogue. If the cantor is singing it all and praying it all and everybody's just sitting and watching, that's not the point. The cantor says to the people, my job is just to push you, is to get you, is to bring you into the moment. You guys have to talk to God. It's your God. You have your own relationship. This is your life. Take your own life into your hands. But sometimes you don't feel motivated or inspired or don't know how to find the words, or you're not feeling in the zone. You're not feeling focused. So the role of the Chazan is, I'm going to bring you in. My songs, my chanting will pick up your moods and your spirits. And once I've got you there, now it's your time to stand up and sing and pray. Now, it's a beautiful mashal. We should listen to it more. This year, many people don't even have that chazan, that fox in their life to be able to bring them to that moment. So now you have extra work because you've got to find it from within, which means you got harder work to do, but it's more important. And imagine if you can succeed this year in doing it all from within, you're going to have a much more meaningful Rosh Hashanah in that kind of way. So this year you have the opportunity to take control over your own life. And this year you have opportunities to do what you've never done before. You are the cantor. You are the rabbi. You are the choir. You are the usher. You are the conductor. But most importantly, you are the child of Hashem. You're the congregant. You're the person who's going to pray. So I want you to keep that in mind. Now, the mincha prayer is fairly standard. You can do a lot on your own. The Ashrei you can say on your own. There's no Kaddish because you didn't have the Minyan. The Amidah you do on your own. So we're going to discover that most of the prayers can be done on your own. There are certain prayers that are called Tfilah Shel Tzibur, prayers of the congregation, or Dvarim Shel Kedusha, or matters of extra holiness that require a Minyan in order to recite them. Those you won't be able to do. But most of the others can be done biyachid, which means can be done even alone. And I want to tell you one more it's not a secret because it's straight out of the Talmud, but it's something that people don't know. We know that a whole year round, there's a big difference between private individual prayers and communal prayers. Tfilat Yachid and Tfilat Tzibur. And Hashem says, when it's Tfilat Yachid, when it's the prayers of the individual, you got to really be deserving. I'm going to look deep into you. My whole focus is on you right now, so I'm going to figure out if you're deserving or you're not deserving. But when it's the prayers of the tzibur, of the community, Hashem says, I don't look at individuals. I welcome the prayer of the minyan, and no matter who is there in the minyan, those prayers are always accepted and guaranteed. So the power of being in the synagogue with the minyan is very, very powerful. However, we're told in the Talmud, on the 10 days of the Teshuvah, Aseret Yemei Teshuvah, the 10 days starting Rosh Hashanah and ending Yom Kippur, the power of Tfilat Yachid, the power of the individual prayer, is just the same as the power of the communal prayer a whole year round. Which means that just like a whole year round, God says, I never deny the prayers of the community. During these 10 days, God says, I never deny the prayers of the individual. I welcome the individual's prayers like I would a community prayer. And I've always thought about that teaching and that idea because of the opportunity of these days. But this year, it resounds so much more important than on any other year. The individual has the power of the congregation during these 10 days. That is such an awesome teaching that we all need to be paying attention to. Okay, so we're doing the Ashrei, we're doing the Amidah, and then the Mincha ends with the Aleinu prayer. L'David Hashem Ori, we're adding Psalm 27 every day in the morning prayers and in the afternoon prayers. That's on page 20. And then the Aleinu prayer. Something to keep in mind before you pray this Mincha prayer, and that is that this prayer is the last prayer of the whole year. So if you're doing 3 prayers a day for the last 354 days, you've prayed over 1,000 prayers, or at least close to that. And now this is the last one. And so we're told that during this prayer, have in mind of what can you rectify in your prayers from the past year. Maybe it could be in one of your prayers in the past year, your mind got a little drifted and you had a bit of a foreign thought. It's possible. I'm not suspecting you, heaven forbid. But in case it did happen, now's your chance to really hone in, to really focus, to really say, God, when I pray, I really want to have a conversation with you. I don't want to be looking at my phone. I don't want to be thinking about all my worries and anxieties. I don't want to be distracted by who knows what. I want to be having a conversation with you. So imagine in one conversation with your loved one, maybe you have a problem with communication with your loved one. You're always distracted from him or from her on your phone with something else. But in one conversation, you say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I haven't been so attentive to you. But here I am. And she or he, they feel your sincerity and they know and they're reminded that you are truly there for them and you're making it your best commitment to do that further. That concludes the Mincha prayer. At this point, if you haven't yet, you'll be lighting the candles. So we light candles the first night of Rosh Hashanah, the second night of Rosh Hashanah, and the night of Yom Kippur. When we light the candles, we want to do it before, at the candle lighting time, before sunset on the first night, and we're making two blessings. The first blessing is this year you're going to incorporate two things because it's Shabbat and it's Rosh Hashanah. So the first blessing we're going to be making, you gave us the mitzvah, lahadlik ner, to light candles, shel Shabbat v'shel Yom HaZikaron. Shabbat and Yom HaZikaron, the day of remembrance, which is the day of Rosh Hashanah. And then the second blessing is, of course, the Shehechianu. Now, when I get to the second night, I'm going to discuss the Shehechianu. That's an interesting thing for the second night. But so far, we've prayed Mincha, we've lit the candles, and now we're moving on into the evening prayer. I do want to say, by the way, that we have prepared this really beautiful High Holiday Guide that has a lot of teachings, instructions, some of the prayers, and a lot of guidance. And some recipes I see. That's cool. And other stuff. So we're going to be distributing this. If you're in the community here, you'll be getting this in the mail. We're doing our honey cake distribution on Sunday. We're giving them out. And we have more available. So if you're not going to be getting one and you want one, you can certainly contact our office and we can get one of these to you because these are very helpful to help you on your own this year. Going into the evening prayer, remember it's not just for the festival, but it's also for Shabbat because the first day of Rosh Hashanah is Shabbat. So we're beginning right at the beginning on page 23, which is the Shabbat prayers. Mizmor David, Lecha Dodi, and sorry, etc. If you know a song, sing it. Because when you sing it, you immerse yourself in the prayer much more than just reciting it. And if you can't pray in Hebrew, pray in English, or pray in Spanish, or in Russian, or French, or German, or Italian, or whatever you speak. It's so important that you understand what you're saying. Never just mumble words that mean nothing to you. That is useless. I know some people that mumble words that mean nothing to them. No good. Doesn't have any effect on you, and doesn't really connect with God very well either. So you're doing those prayers, and then we're moving into the Rosh Hashanah prayer. One thing I'll point out is normally on page 28, moving into the Ma'ariv part of the prayer, the Chazan will recite the Kaddish. Everyone knows the Kaddish. Just singing that song is already giving me chills on my spine. So if you can sing that to yourself. You can't say the Kaddish because this is one of the things we don't have a minyan, so you can't say the Kaddish. So you don't say the Baruch Hu either. Baruch Hu et Hashem Avorach. So we don't do that without the minyan. But on the page before the bottom of 27, there's a shaded area, Velomar Baruch Hu. That is what you say when you don't have the minyan, and that's a replacement prayer for the Baruch Hu prayer. You continue with the rest of the prayers, the blessings, the Shema, all the way until the Amidah. And we're not going to say the Kaddish, but the Amidah you're going to do also because the private Amidah is your own personal prayer. You can say it wherever. And I want to point out, starting from Rosh Hashanah, for the next 10 days, the Amidah has several additions over a regular Amidah, which you have to pay attention to. So in the first blessing, we add, Zachreinu lechayim, melech hafetz b'chayim, v'chasveyenu b'sefer ha'chayim, lemancha, Elokim chayim. To remember us for life, we're telling God. We add that in the first blessing. In the second blessing, we're adding, Mi chamocha v'rachaman. Who is like you, O compassionate Father? And in the conclusion of the third blessing, Atak Kadosh, V'Shemcha Kadosh, you're holy. Normally we would conclude, Baruch Atah Hashem, Hakel HaKadosh, you are the holy God. But on these 10 days, we're concluding, Baruch Atah Hashem, HaMelech HaKadosh. We're talking about God as king over these 10 days. Not Hakel HaKadosh, but HaMelech HaKadosh. But you'll see on the bottom of 34, we're not going to get to that right away. There's a lot of additional piyutim, extra paragraph prayers, which are recited in all the Amidas of the high holidays. And you'll be saying all of those. You'll go through the text. You'll see it as you go along. There are some shaded areas, paragraphs that you insert for Shabbat. You'll be adding those as well. There's actually one thing that's added for Saturday night, Motzei Shabbat, at the bottom of 35. You'll get to that tomorrow night. And then you conclude, and then we're adding also towards the end, God inscribe all your children for a good life. And then we're adding at the end of Sim Shalom, we're adding over Sefer Chaim to the bottom of 38. Inscribe us in the book of life and peace and prosperity, deliverance, consolation, favorable decrees. We're adding that paragraph as well. And we're concluding the blessing there. And then the Amidah will end on page 39. And when we make the final Oseh Shalom prayer, this is the prayer of peace. Oseh Shalom Bimromav. So on these 10 days, we're replacing the word Shalom with HaShalom. We're adding a Hey. Oseh HaShalom Bimromav. And you ask, why is that? That's a great question. Let's continue. Yeah, we get lost over here. Now, one last piece you're going to pray on the Ma'ariv prayer, page 40. Normally in the congregation, you would open the ark and you would do this Psalm 24 together, the David Mizmor, verse by verse with the cantor. You're not going to be doing with the cantor, but you can do it on your own. And we are told this special prayer at the end of the evening prayers of Rosh Hashanah in Yom Kippur is propitious for the blessings of Parnasah, for the blessings of material wealth and sustenance. So that's something to keep in mind, making those prayers. And we conclude with Aleinu. And for that, we have concluded the evening prayer. And then on page 44, there's something very, very important. It's in the Siddur. You don't have this, for example, on Shabbat. We know that when you greet someone on Shabbat, what are you supposed to say? You're supposed to greet them. Good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom. Say something, right? The truth is, every time you pass somebody, you're supposed to say something. Hello, how are you? Good to see you. In fact, there's a rabbi in the Mishnah that says that he was very proud of himself that no one ever greeted him before he greeted them. He was always the first to greet somebody. You know, some people who feel like they're very, very important. I'm not going to greet you first. You greet me. I deserve the honor, and then I'll greet you. But really important people like Rabbi Yochanan in the Mishnah, they never say that. They right away greet somebody first. We have a question. Yes, Benny, we just spoke about Mizmor David Mizmor before Aleinu. We just mentioned that before, and certainly going to recite that as well. So here, though, it's actually recorded in the Machzor. You're supposed to turn to your friend, to your loved one, to somebody, and you're supposed to say, L'shana tova tikateh v'techatem. Or for a female, tikatevi v'techatemi, may be inscribed and sealed for a good year. And we have a tradition that when the angels see one person turning to another and wishing them a good year, they go to God and they carry those blessings. And God will indeed bless them with a good year. Now, you may be alone in your home. Some people will be in their home, at least with family. Some people will just be alone. Now, you have an extra challenge, right? I understand that. That's never easy, especially on the holidays. So you're going to have to be super creative. I mean, I want you to know you're never alone because God is always with you. And if you have God, you don't really need anybody else. Well, it's good to have loved ones. I'm not, especially people who have loved ones who have passed or whatever. You don't have it easy. I get that. But I encourage you, if you're up to it,
Rabbi Wolf, you're frozen. I don't know what's going on.
He's frozen, all right. Actually, he may have dropped. I don't know. Yeah, he should be back soon.
Am I back? I don't know what happened. I am so sorry. And if you still are there, that's
You're back.
amazing. Okay, thank you for hanging in there.
We lost you when you said if you're up for it, and then you froze.
Up for what?
That's the question.
Okay.
So I remember the last thing you said was that you're never alone because Hashem is always with you.
All right. Yeah, that's for sure. So I just spoke about finding opportunities to give others blessings. It's very important to extend New blessings to others, and then that will be a blessing for you. I want to get into the evening meal and then into some other prayers, and I have a few other links I want to share with you and some documents and other stuff in the time we have remaining. I have a comment here, so just hold on 1 second. Regarding your comment on not praying words we don't understand, for example, Amidah, I don't understand all words, but I know the meaning of the prayer. Do you suggest not reading it in Hebrew, or that it's important to read? Okay, so there's someone's asking about what I mentioned earlier about understanding your prayer. So let me just say it like this. Of course, praying in the language and in the words that the rabbis created is certainly important. Here's the thing. Because they're so important and holy, if you use the rabbi's language, which is universally accepted, then even if you don't understand the prayers are still considered valid prayers. Whereas if you would pray in Chinese, but you don't understand Chinese, they would not be considered valid prayers. But at the same time, just because it's a valid prayer, it's like the comparison is a body without a soul. That's what the Talmud says. Tfilah b'lo kavana k'guf b'lo neshama. Prayer without intention is like a body without a soul. You never want to offer a soulless prayer to God. It's like being soulless to your loved one, to your partner, when you're there with them, but you're not really with them. You're not available. Your mind, your heart is elsewhere. That's a really empty experience. Now, it's an experience. You were there, but so there's two values. One value is you want to understand what you're praying. Another value is you want to be using the original language of the rabbis, which is so important. So I would say, for someone who's really truthfully embarking on improving on this, is that you should do a bit of both. Certainly some of the prayers do in the original language, but at the same time, do some prayers in a language you understand also. And at the same time, make a commitment that you're going to do some homework on your own time to have an English or a Spanish siddur, whatever it is that you need, and study and be able to match up the words. And now they make these, has Hebrew on one side, English on the other side. But now they're making these, I forgot what it's called, I think it's linear, where they have literally line by line Hebrew and English. And if you can do that, and it's much easier to use, and also do your homework, try to figure out the meaning of the prayer. So the goal will be, even though if now you're praying in a language you understand, the goal will be that one day you'll be able to pray in the original Hebrew and you'll understand them as well. That's my recommendation. Now let's move along, the meal. So of course it's Shabbat, so we begin Shalom Aleichem, even though we do Shalom Aleichem quietly. Shabbat, so we want to say it. It's the festival, so we don't want to say it. Do it quietly. Apparently that satisfies it. There's deeper reasons. I shouldn't make light of it, but that's what it is. And then we have the special Kiddush for the holidays. There's the Shabbat passage of Yom HaShishi, but then there's the holiday Kiddush, as you'll see on 46, 47, with the inserting the passages for Shabbat, and you're also making the Shehecheyanu. Now tonight, before you're going to go into at the beginning of the meal, okay, so let's talk about some of the foods. The foods are very important for the holidays. And a lot of the foods are very symbolic. So for example, we have the round challah. Now, If you don't have round challah and you don't know how to make round challah, and your challah is going to be square, rectangular, or you only have a bagel or a roll or whatever, it's fine. It's best to have 2 complete loaves of whatever. But if you can, we have round challah. And that's the symbolism. Trust me, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, their wives or themselves did not make those fancy 4-6 braided challahs with chocolate chips and with black and white sesame seeds or with some honey or guava inside. They didn't have any of that. They didn't know how to braid a challah. Trust me. It's a modern invention. It's a nice thing. The reason we have round challahs is because we want our blessed, it represents the cycle of the year. We want, and the round, where's the beginning and ending point of a circle? It doesn't exist. We want our blessings to be endless in that same way. Now, here are some other symbolic foods, and there are many customs about this. I'm going to go through some of them. One is very universal, and that is the dip the apple in the honey, make a bracha loud and clear. L'shana tova u'matuka, have a happy, sweet new year. We dip apple in honey. Apples are sweet. Honey is sweet. Honey comes from bees. Bees have a sting. But sometimes if you want to get sweetness, you gotta be willing to take the sting also. Or we're telling God we don't want the sting, just the bee, just the honey. But you should know something else about honey. Honey never ruins. Okay, you can have a honey jar in your cupboard for 50 years. It's still gonna be there. So that's an important theme. We want our life and our blessings to never, never ruin or get spoiled. We dip the apple in the honey, we make a blessing, the blessing of Borei Pri Ha'etz. And then there's a special prayer to make. Now, some people make special prayers over all the different special foods, some only over this one, but it's in the guide, it's in the Siddur. You hear Atzom Milfanecha, may it be your will, God, Shetechadesh Aleinu Shana Tova Metoka. You should renew for us a happy, sweet new year. And we eat the apple. What are other things that people eat? Some people eat pomegranates, the rimon, because there's so many seeds in the rimon. There's not 613 seeds, like 613 mitzvot, unless I haven't found a pomegranate with that amount of seeds, but there are many seeds. And that tells us we tell God we want our mitzvot and our good deeds to be very, very many this year. Some people, we should have the fish head, the head of the fish on the table. Fish, because fish's eyes never close, so therefore we want God's eyes never to close on us this year. Fish multiply very rapidly with great amounts. We tell God we want to have 17 children this year. At least we want to have a very strong nation. And also the head of the fish, because we want to be the head and not the tail. We want to be at the front and not the back. We want to be leading. That's our job as the Jewish people. Some people put the head of a ram, the head of a goat, the head of another animal on their table. If you want to do that, God bless you, but I don't do that. Some people have carrots. Why carrots? You know, tzimmus. I'm sure somebody knows how to make tzimmus. I think there's a recipe for tzimmus even in this guide that we're going to give out. So why carrots? Because carrots in Yiddish are meren. And meren also means more. And we're telling God we always want more and more. We're never satisfied with the blessings. Some people eat beets because beets in Aramaic are silka. And silka means to remove. And we're asking God to remove all the harsh decrees from us this year. And some people eat squash because squash is kara in Hebrew. And kara means to proclaim and declare. And we're asking for God to proclaim and declare our merits out loud this year. And there are many other customs as well. I know somebody that serves on their table 2 other things, raisins and celery. Because they're praying to God, dear God, this year, I need a raise in my salary. It's a true one. Someone once told me that. So if something is meaningful to you, you can do that. The new fruit is not yet. The new fruit is for tomorrow night. We'll get to that. In the Birchat Hamazon and the blessings, you have a special additional prayers for the Rosh Hashanah as well. As long as you're following from the Siddur, you will find that. The Simanim, great question, Benny. The Simanim, there's many different customs in Ashkenaz and in Sfard. For example, in Chabad, we do the apple and the honey, we do the head of the fish, but we don't make a prayer on the head of the fish. Other people do. And then we may do the pomegranate or others, but without prayers, without ceremony. Other people make ceremonies on all these things. So these are many customs that evolved over time and in different communities. Now, let's go into some daytime prayers. Time is running out. Okay, just want to give you some really good news. Now, if you're getting our gift package, you're going to be receiving this in the package. But the package is not going out as early as I wanted it to. So therefore, because COVID is really messing everything up, Chas v'shalom, nothing's being messed up. Everything is going according to plan, just not my plan, but it's going according to plan. Now, I'm going to share with you a link right now. You're the first people in the world to actually see this link. No one has ever seen it before. I'm going to be sharing it publicly later, but I'm just inspired to share it right now. So you should feel very privileged that you're on this class and you're going to be getting this link. So if you go to that URL that I just posted, there we have 23 soundtracks from our dear Cantor Udi, who has prepared for us many of the beautiful songs that he sings for us here in the shul. He won't be able to be here in the shul this year, but he will be in your home. There are some classics, there are some modern songs, traditional songs. There's even one or two that are New Year's specials that you've never heard before. So you're going to use that. You're going to get that in your gift package and listen to it away. I mean, I'm listening to them and they're just amazing. They're really putting me in the mood. So hold on to that link and we're going to be sending it out as well. Morning prayers. For pretty much at the beginning, you can do as many as you want. You could do them all because they're all, until you get to, the Pesukei de Zimra, you can do. And then we begin the Shacharit, HaMelech, HaMelech, right? So you can do that for sure. You can do all these prayers. Again, you're the cantor. No one else is the cantor. We're adding on page 100. We add that every single day in the morning prayers. Psalm 130. Shir Ma'alot, Mimamakim Karaticha Hashem. Dear God, I call you out of the depths. It's a very special passage of Psalms from King David. We're saying that every single day. It's Psalm 130. We're not doing the Kaddish and the Baruch Hu, but we're continuing straight through to the Shema, and then to the Amidah. The Amidah is pretty similar to the night before. In fact, it's identical to the night before. Same edition, same story, and you can do the whole thing. Now, what I want to point out now is about the repetitions of the Amidah. So we have the repetition in the Shacharit, the repetition in the Musaf, first day, second day, Yom Kippur, it's all the same. The repetition, so the Amidah, we're getting a question here, is on page 115. No, that's the repetition. The Amidah is on page 109 in this Machzor. But let me give you a principle about the repetition, and that is, the repetition of the prayer is really only for a synagogue minyan setting. So it's not for your homes. Therefore, if you want, you can skip over the whole thing and move on to the next part of the prayers. That being said, there are parts that you can say, and I'm going to even recommend that you do say. So, for example, the piyutim. Not the parts that just the cantor alone chants. Those are for the cantor. But there are piyutim, there are extra poems and prayers that have been added throughout the ages. You're not legally required to recite them, but I would say you're soulfully encouraged to recite them because they're gorgeous and they are what make up our holiday experience. So as obviously 115, the Chazan will begin, we wouldn't say any of that. But if you go to, page 118, and there's the famous prayer when the ark is opened and we stand up and we're saying, Atahu Elokeinu, you are the Lord our God, in heaven, on earth, etc., etc. By the way, so when we're opening up the ark, that's in the synagogue. At the home, you don't have an ark or a Torah scroll. But it is customary, if you're reciting a prayer that the Machzor said the ark would have been opened, you should rise for that prayer also. Now, these piyutim you can say, and maybe you don't say them all, it takes a long time, but say some of them. So if you go to, I'm going to skip now, if you go to 124, right? Hashem melech, Hashem malach, Hashem yimloch li'olam va'en, Hashem. That's one tune. I can give you 10 other tunes. You sing one you want. But again, say those if you have time, if you can. 126, Lakel Orech Din. Such a powerful prayer to God who probes hearts on the day of judgment, to him who reveals hidden things in judgment. If you have the time, if you have the ability, stand up and recite that prayer. You're not going to do the Kedusha after that because it belongs to the Tzibur. And then the rest of the passages are what the Chazan is repeating, what we said in our private prayer. So we're not going to say any of that. But, those extra piyutim, you can and should say if you're able to. And then the Shacharit ends with the Avinu Malkeinu. Avinu Malkeinu 152, very important prayer. You can and should say that on your own. It's a long prayer. If you can't say the whole thing, say some of it. And I'll tell you which ones are most important. The first one, for example, Avinu Malkeinu ein lano melech ela ata. We have no other God other than you. That's an important one. If you can sing it with the nigun, even better. Ay, 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 did it, ay, 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 ay. Avinu Malkeinu. And by the way, that is on one of Udi's soundtracks, so you can learn that song. Then there's 4 special ones in the middle that I want to bring your attention to. We talk about to the bottom of 152. Avinu Malkeinu zachrenu b'zikaron tov lefanecha. Remember us in good favor. Katvenu, inscribe us in the book of good life. Inscribe us for redemption and salvation. Inscribe us for parnasah and sustenance. Inscribe us with great merits. So those 4 are very important. And then the last one, of course, Avinu Malkeinu Chaneinu Vaneinu. Right, that one you all know. But if you don't, you can go to Udi's soundtracks and you can learn that one as well. Song of the day, the David Hashem Ori, Psalm 27 on page 159. Say that if you can. That is Torah reading. Now, Torah reading, you don't have a Torah. You're not going to read the Torah. However, you should, if you have the time, take it and read through the passage of Torah for that day, whether it's in Hebrew or in English or whatever language, because those passages were specially chosen and selected to read on those days. There's many special themes to learn out from them. So try to read the Torah passages to yourself. Someone's pointing out, very true, and that is, thank you for reminding me, on Shabbat, we do not recite Avinu Malkeinu. You're not going to do that on Shabbat, you're only going to do that on Sunday. Thank you for that reminder. Then is shofar blowing. All right, I'm just going to rush through a couple things now for the time that we have left. Shofar blowing. Now, here is something that you really need to try to achieve on Rosh Hashanah, because that is the big mitzvah. Shofar blowing, if I may say, is even more important than all the prayers, except for Shema. Shema is a biblical prayer. All the other prayers are rabbinic prayers. Shofar blowing is a biblical mitzvah. You have it a little easier this year because there's no shofar blowing on Shabbat, only shofar blowing on Sunday. If you can make arrangements to hear the shofar, amazing. How can you do that? Either you're in the shul, fine, or you can blow it on your own, get adventurous, or you can find a way to hear it elsewhere. So for example, here, we're having shofar blowings in the shul. We're also doing in the park in the afternoon. We're also probably going to be doing several locations in the neighborhood throughout the day. We're going to advertise that on the street. Masks, safe distance, everything's going to be fine. Even the shofar wears a mask nowadays, as I don't know if you've seen. So you've got to try to make arrangements. Now, if you do want to do the shofar on your own, that would be fantastic, but you need to get ready for that. I would say that it's not as hard as you think, and it may not be as easy as you think either. So there's 2 things involved. There's the skill of actually blowing the shofar, and then there's the laws of how to blow it. So I do have a document here, which I'm going to share because there's a bunch of links there. Let me share my screen for a moment, and let's see if I can pull this up. 1 minute. Nope, wrong one. I'm going to show you, and I'm going to put a link here so you can actually download what I'm going to be showing you. Here it is. So yeah, here's the share screen, and I hope you're going to see it. So there we go. So I have a bunch of links here. I actually have an online link for a Machzor companion for the prayers in case you don't have one with you, and you can open that and even print that before the holidays. I have a link for some beautiful messages, insights, and stories. I have links for music. I'll link to, that link for Udi is wrong because there should be a / before the Udi. So don't use that one. Use the one that I sent you. And then on Chabad.org is a beautiful page of holiday songs. And I have a whole section for the shofar here. How to choose the shofar if you're going to purchase one. How to blow the shofar. I have 2 versions, a brief one and a more in-depth one. And I also have the instructions and the blessings. So if you can't make it to a shofar blowing, I'm going to encourage you to try to figure out on your own. But to do that, you've got to do your homework, because to blow but not do it right is also not so effective. So that's what I'm going to throw out there. There are blessings and there's a shofar blasts. And That's all I'm going to say about that for now. Here, I will share a link to that page on the chat. But remember, just for the Udi thing, that link is a little wrong. I'm going to have to penalize my IT guy for making that terrible mistake of a period instead of a /. And I'll give you 3 guesses who my IT guy is. All right, let's move along. Let's talk about Musaf. So again, Musaf, the bulk of the Musaf is your own private prayer, the Amidah, which you should recite. The prayer beforehand of the cantor, you're not going to make that. The Kaddish, you're not going to do that. But the actual prayer you should recite with all the additions. Musaf, as you know, or if you don't, has 3 extra additions on Rosh Hashanah, and 3 sections called Malchiyot, God's kingship, Zichronot, remembrances of God, and Shofarot, the power of the shofar. They should all be recited by you in your private Amidah. If you follow along the Siddur on page 180, you'll find it. There are 3 intervals in the Amidah where we pause to blow some shofar again. If you happen to be blowing the shofar for yourself, then you pause and you blow the shofar where it says so. You do that. If you're not with the shofar, then you just pray the Amidah regularly on your own. And like I said, try to get to hear the shofar on next Sunday. When it comes to the repetitions, same principle. You don't have to do any repetition. It's all for the cantor and the congregation. But there are some parts, some extra piyutim that I would recommend you don't miss out on. Melech Elyon, the song of Melech Elyon on page 198. Gorgeous song. Unetane Tokef. If you're going to do one prayer, do Unetane Tokef, talking about the day of judgment, which there's a beautiful recording from Udi on the website. And then Rosh Hashanah Yikatehevun, also from Udi, a beautiful recording. And at the end, Uteshuva, Utefila, Utedaka, Ma'avirin, Etzroa, Hagazera. Those you can certainly say on your own. You're not going to do the Kedusha. Then there's the V'chol Ma'aminim, page 203. V'chol Ma'aminim, Shehu Kelemuna. Again, the song of your choice. And the rest pretty much is for the cantor to say. And that concludes that. If you're in the synagogue, the Kohanim will do the priestly blessing, but if you're not in the synagogue, you're not going to do that. And that's the end of the Musaf, pretty much. You could do the En Kelokeinu, En Kelokeinu, En Gadonenu, and you could do the Musaf, and you can recite Tehillim, the Psalm, page 250. You can do that. Let's think where we're holding for time. It's getting a little late. So, I want to summarize. We didn't really get to Yom Kippur. Maybe we'll get a chance to do that another time. There's a lot you can do on your own. It's not going to be easy, or as easy or convenient as you are in the shul. Nobody's giving you the instructions. You didn't have that motivation from the cantor, from the rabbi, from wherever. But now's the time to recognize that actually these prayers are yours. Own them. Don't pray through somebody else. Pray through yourself. Don't have someone else do it for you. Do it yourself. I think it's a very, very important theme. Now, very good. Thank you for that reminder. Tashlich is also on Sunday this year, second day of Rosh Hashanah. So another thing, a very special custom, and I have that link in the page that I shared with you, is to do tashlich. Tashlich is to go to a body of water, like a natural body of water, and to make some prayers. Now, I know that we tell our children that we're throwing our sins to the fish. We're not really. Trust me. If it were that easy, we would sin a whole year and then we just throw them out to the fish. And why do the fish deserve our sins? We're not throwing our sins to the fish. It's actually not even so much about fish. It's more about the body of water. It says, "V'tashlich b'mtzulat yom kol chatotam." There's a metaphor in scripture that says we're throwing out our sins to the depths of the sea. Water inspires the idea of releasing our sin and shifting away from our path of sin and being able to reclaim our life and our righteousness. Number one, we reach a body of water. If it was an ocean, we'd be able to reflect on the day of creation when God gathered all the waters together into oceans and allowed for dry land to emerge. And we're very thankful for that day. Dry land could emerge, and now we could emerge and be the people here in this world to recognize our responsibilities in that regard. You think about fish, and fish is the source of life. Sorry, you think about water, water is the source of life. Everybody needs water, not just fish. Humans, animals, plants, everyone needs water. And we talk about Mayim Chaim. Mayim Chaim is true life, healthy life, spiritual life. So you can get different kinds of waters, right? You can get the cheap brand, and that's really lousy, filled with alkaline or whatever. Or you can get a really good brand, a refreshing brand of water. Life is the same thing. And we talk about Chaim Tovim, the good life. Now, the good life we're asking Hashem from is give me health, give me happiness, give me prosperity. But Hashem wants to see from us, we're also going to pledge to live the good life. The good life is the way the Torah wants us to live our lives, the way God has asked us to live our lives. Have we lived that way this past year? We've tried, probably not as good as we could have. We want to be better the next year. So water inspires these things. And being there and making those prayers is a very powerful moment. If you can do that on the second day of Rosh Hashanah. Any other questions? What else did I miss out that which should be addressed for Rosh Hashanah? Someone's asking about a shofar over Zoom or online. The answer is to fulfill the biblical mitzvah of shofar on Rosh Hashanah, you must hear the shofar in person, the actual shofar sounds. You cannot hear digital sounds from a screen, or for that matter, from a microphone even, is not okay. The Talmud talks about how you can't even blow a shofar inside like a cave where there's an echo. Because then again, you may not be hearing the shofar sounds, you may be hearing the echo sounds bouncing off the wall, which is what you don't want to be hearing. You need to hear the shofar directly from the horn. What other questions that we didn't get a chance to cover? I'm sure there's plenty. Nope. Anything else, guys? So we'll leave it there. We should try to do this again for Yom Kippur. With God's help, we'll be able to do that. I want to wish you a Shana Tova Matuka, a really happy, blessed, sweet New Year. No one's had it easy, and some people have had it more difficult than others. Today they're talking about how some people are saying we're all in the same boat, but others are saying we're not necessarily in the same boat. So everyone's going through their own challenges and experiences. This is a time of year we need to really pray. Pray hard. How did they ever prayed before? Because we learn from our ancestors, when we turn to God in prayer, we recognize that God is the source of our blessings and our salvation. That recognition itself is a blessing and can open up channels, open up vessels through which we can receive and absorb God's blessings. It should be in a way of Tov Hanira Vanigla, in a way that's revealed and speedily and in a clear way, not something we have to look deep to find the blessings, but they should be apparent in front of our eyes. So God bless you, and be sure to try to bring some joy to other people as well. And thank you for joining. All the best.